Michael, let's go up to the Pacific Northwest where, buddy, I'm from Seattle. I'm not a Seahawks fan, but I know a lot of Seahawks fans, and they are buzzing with this team. They improved to 5-3 yesterday after snapping the Giants' 4-game win streak, beating them 27-13. Geno Smith once again made the necessary plays. He wasn't as good as he's been this season, but I thought he made the necessary plays when he had to. But this Seahawks team is rolling, and Pete Carroll's saying a little, "I told you so," about the roster that he has here.
Well, I mean, look, they did it. They created turnovers. I mean, the kid dropped 2 punts, right? I mean, that's the killer in the game. But I mean, they really did a great job on the Giants taking away what they want to do. Let's stop all the nonsense. Pete Carroll is a really good coach, and Pete Carroll's proven everybody he knows what the hell he's doing. You can argue with Pete Carroll whether he should challenge it, whether he shouldn't, but this defense the last 3 weeks has gotten a lot better. Has made huge strides from when they played Atlanta and lost at home. And I think the fans of Seattle, your hometown crew, they recognize this team. They've had a really good draft. There are a lot of young players on this team, and they're starting to come together, and they're starting to buy in. And that was a game that they didn't play their A game, but they made sure the Giants didn't play their A game either. And they were able to dominate it. I mean, they forced 3 fumbles. They got 2 of them. They didn't turn the ball over other than they had a fumble. They gave the Giants got 14 points, but Lockett gave them the ball on the 2-yard line with his fumble. So, I mean, I think Pete Carroll's got to be up for Coach of the Year. I mean, it's really done a remarkable job. It's a remarkable performance by him, John Schneider, of keeping this team together. I mean, I think they probably thought Locke might be the quarterback, but Smith's good. I mean, they're playing with 2 rookie tackles. Yeah. But think about this. I mean, they're doing it with a lot of young players.
It's crazy.
They start to get more seasoning. All of a sudden, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And they won yesterday. I mean, the Giants do what the Giants do. The Giants held them for 3 for 13 on 3rd down, and they still won.
I think it was one of those games that we saw because the Giants in this win streak have been going up against some teams that are not really well coached. And they kind of met their match from a coaching staff standpoint there. And they weren't able to make that difference like Daboll has been able to do. Credit to Daboll and getting that team to 6-2 at this point. But the Seahawks are also a really well-coached team. And you mentioned Seattle's young talent. It is just out of control. I was thinking about it last night. I said the Seahawks, they might have the coach of the year in Pete Carroll, the comeback player of the year in Geno Smith, and then the offensive rookie of the year in Kenneth Walker. And then I know a lot of people love Sauce Gardner, and I love Sauce Gardner's game. He's terrific. But what Tariq Woolen is doing out there at corner for Seattle, he would be my defensive rookie of the year, leading the league in interceptions. It's crazy what they've been able to do in just one offseason to kind of turn this whole thing around.
Yeah, and look, he made a change to his defensive staff. He's got that going now. They're playing much better. I mean, look, the Giants have won games. They've always been able to win the games so far this season with their 6 wins. They won them in the fourth quarter. Yesterday, they had 30 plays in the fourth quarter, Femi. 30 plays. They got six first downs, and they got 3 points. Meanwhile, Seattle, they had 16 plays, 14 points, and 7 first downs. So they beat them at their own game. And that's what happened. I mean, the Giants averaged 3.5 yards per play in the game. Think about that.
That's crazy.
I mean, 3.5 yards per play. I mean, they shut them down. And this is a defense that looked like they could force no one to punt early in the season. Mm-hmm. And they did. I mean, so credit the coaches and this is really what you want to see from your team is improvement. And that's what you want to see from your head coach is how is the team getting better? Are they getting better? And they really are.
After the game, Geno Smith was asked about if it felt good to beat the New York Giants, since he used to be a member of the New York Giants. And he said there was no kind of ill will or anything like that, no negative feelings toward that organization. But he did go out of his way to say, quote, "This game was for Ben McAdoo and Jerry Reese," referencing that they believed in him. What did you make of Geno's comments after the game?
I think that what I made of him is I think that those guys from that past regime probably knew that Geno had more of a future than Eli did, mm-hmm. and they got caught and Geno got caught up in the Eli. I don't want to call it controversy, but the Eli can still play notion that was permeating through the Giants. So he never really got a chance. I think there's a lot of times where players come into organizations where they really don't have a chance because there is that bias of about another player that never gets let go, right? And so you can't really – I mean, if somebody went to Chicago and tried to challenge Justin Fields for the start, not these guys aren't there. They didn't draft them, but typically the bias is already in. The the sunk cost bias. We've got him. We've got to keep going with it. And I think that's how I interpreted it. That McAdoo and Reese kind of knew that Eli was done, and they probably were being very sympathetic to Geno because they understood it, but he couldn't get enough support organizationally.
I thought McAdoo was fired just because he benched Eli and did that.
I think a lot of that. I think that there was. I think it's funny. I think certain times in organizations' lives, they don't want to hear the truth. We wrote about this for the Daily Coach today. Green Bay doesn't want to hear the truth, right? No, they don't want to hear. You got to hold players accountable. I think the Giants have spent until this season a lot of time not really wanting to hear the truth. They wanted to hear the story that they're telling themselves, and that narrative is Eli. I don't know how they can defend Daniel Jones, even though they've won 6 games. Like really?
He's not.
Like,
good.
Are you really going to tell me that no? Nobody that knows football is going to buy that Daniel Jones is a Super Bowl winning caliber quarterback. Now, do we throw him to the curb? No. Do we replace him? If we can. Like, we're going to replace him. But right now we don't have anybody to replace him with.
Which is why I tip my cap to what Brian Daboll and that staff is doing. Daniel Jones, he's not the answer. We all know that. They knew that when they declined the 5th-year option. But they're making do with what they have, and what they have is a 6-2 football team. Regardless what I might think about them and what you might think about them, the record is 6-2 at the bye week, Michael. Thanks for watching the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, and for more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to VSiN Live and the GM Shuffle podcast with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN, wherever you get your podcasts.